creatures of the world, and welcome back to Coffee with Kerri-Lynn. It's a beautiful day in the far north of Maine, up along the Canadian border in the Crown of Maine, and I hope it's a beautiful day wherever you are as well. It is Friday. It is time to decompress. Let your hair down. Take the burdens of the week off your shoulders. Go into the weekend with a light heart in a more joyous mood. You can pick all the crap back up on Monday. I promise you, Manic Monday will be waiting for you. Here on Coffee with Kerri-Lynn, Monday through Thursday, we talk about homesteading, we talk about raising livestock, we talk about gardening and canning and preserving and pantry prepping, we talk about politics, we talk about family, marriage, relationships, children, big children, little children, grandchildren, we talk about the dumpster fire that is the world around us. And on Friday, we get to do my favorite show, Freaky Friday. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, decompress with me. It is time to think outside of the box. It is time to let your imagination wander. I love stories about the paranormal. I love talking about interdimensional travel. I love talking about aliens. I love talking about the supernatural. I love talking about history's mysteries, the lost city of Atlantis and the pyramids. But I especially like talking about stories, things and events that happen to people that are stranger than fiction. These are the stories people don't even want to tell their friends because they don't want their friends to think that they are weird. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, I am the weird girl, and I am here to share the weird stories. If you have a story that you think is stranger than fiction and you want to share it, please feel free to put it in the comments below. We'd love to hear your experience. If you want to keep that experience private, but you still want to share, please feel free to email me your story at coffeewithkerri-lynn@gmail.com. That's coffee with KERRILYNN@gmail.com. I will link my email address. My beautiful creatures of the world, today I want to tell you a love story. Unfortunately, it's not a fairy tale love story. It is another tale as old as time. It is a love story that ends in absolute tragedy. It is the story of good love that goes horribly bad. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, in 2001, there was a terrible crime committed on Swans Island in Maine. My sources are the Bangor Daily News archives, the Boston Globe archives, and my experiences on Swans Island in 2017, 16 years after this crime takes place. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, the Bangor Daily News and the Boston Globe did extensive coverage on this crime. They interviewed friends and family from the island, off of the island, people that were very close to this couple, that knew this couple very well. Islanders have said that this is more of a Romeo and Juliet type of a situation. Other people said it was just a senseless crime of passion, and yet other people have alluded to the fact that there was a more sinister undertone to this relationship that they couldn't quite put their finger on. Might have been there, might not have been there, until the tragedy struck. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, I want to take you back to the year 1997, when a 14-year-old Stacy Carr goes to the Blue Hill Fair and meets the love of her life, Jamie Wheaton. Jamie is an islander. He is from Swans Island. He is about 5 years older than Stacy. A romance begins, it blossoms, and it flourishes over the next 2 years. In 1999, Stacy Carr petitions the court to emancipate her from her family so that she can leave the mainland and go live on Swans Island to be closer to the love of her life, Jamie Wheaton. For one reason or another, the court actually grants the emancipation. And Stacy goes and rents a room on Swans Island. Stacy does not leave mainland life behind. She goes back and forth from the island to school every day. She has a job. She takes the ferry back and forth and gets to spend now all her extra time with her favorite lobsterman, the love of her life, her boyfriend, Jamie Wheaton. They begin building a life on the island together. Now we are going to fast forward to 2001, the year Stacy graduates. Stacy and Jamie attend Stacy's senior prom. She purchased a beautiful red gown for the prom. They go to prom. They have a beautiful night. They come back. A few days later, on June 22nd, 2001, Stacy turns 18 years old. 5 days after that, Stacy marries Jamie Wheaton and becomes Stacy Carr Wheaton. She marries Jamie in the same red dress that she attended her prom in. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, Jamie and Stacy move into a small cabin on Wrong Way, Swans Island. Now, we don't know what happened within the 30-day span of Stacy turning 18, marrying Jamie, and July 22nd, 2001, when Stacy's life is tragically taken by the hands of her husband. And her husband, Jamie Wheaton, tragically takes his own life. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, it seems like this is so senseless. There is no motive for this crime happening. Jamie was discovered at the Burnt Cove Lighthouse. He took a long arm and ended his life. His lifeless body found over the cliff. A local person was taking their morning constitutional up to the lighthouse, as they do all the time, and they saw Jamie's truck parked at the lighthouse. They called out for Jamie. No answer. They looked for Jamie. Couldn't find him. So they went to the pickup truck, and on the front seat of the pickup truck, they found a note. That note, and eluded that it was Stacy's fault this happened. Immediately, they called the police. This is when the police go to their cabin on Wrong Way and find Stacy stabbed. She did not struggle. They find a 6-inch hunting knife. They also find a note tucked in Stacy's diary to Jamie, telling him he should sleep separately from her. They also find a note from Jamie telling Stacy how much he loves her. We don't know what's in Stacy's diary. The diary became part of the case. It became in possession of law enforcement, and the contents of the diary were never disclosed. Now, apparently, when Jamie was found, he used a long arm, and the rifle, the gun, was never found. Jamie was found at the bottom of a 50-foot cliff drop. There were no fragments of the gun found. They searched the water. There was nothing in the water. They could not find the gun. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, this is a terrible, senseless act of murder that happened. Following the murder, the state closed the case as a domestic violence case. Stacy and Jamie had a double funeral. Stacy was placed in her red prom/wedding gown, and they were buried together. Because as Islanders say, they view this tragedy in a Romeo and Juliet light. Quote, they're married, they've been together so long, no matter what, they loved each other. While we will never know why Jamie did this, why he blamed Stacy, and the cause behind it, we will never know why Stacy really wanted the emancipation from her parents. We will never know the thoughts behind the emancipation being granted. This will forever be a tragedy. This will forever be a case with an unknown, unsolved motive. Now, we're going to fast forward to 2017 when I take a trip to Swan's Island without any knowledge of this case happening. Now I'm going to take you from the year 2001 and we're going to fast forward 16 years to 2017 and my visit to Swan's Island. The island was calling me and I had no idea. The island was drawing me to it and it was drawing my girlfriend to it. My girlfriend and I have very deep feelings about things in life. There was a lot of tragedies surrounding our lives. We each had one child that was having a problem in their lives, a very deep problems, deep-seated problems, and it was affecting our lives. You know how it is with moms. And we were being sucked into our children's drama. My friend has a very high-stress job. I acquired a stalker, which let some high stress in our life, and we decided it was time to decompress, go on a vacation. And I wanted to go to the ocean, and so did she. So that's what we were proceeding to do. I was looking at places we could possibly stay, and I call her up and I say, hey, I want to go to Swan Island. There's a lot of cool stuff on Swan Island. There are abandoned homesteads. There's a singing rock quarry. We can go. We can decompress. We can walk through the homesteads. We can just immerse ourselves in the history of the island. We can stay in Stonington. There's a lot of shops to shop at. We can rent an Airbnb or a hotel, whatever you want. She says, fantastic. Just going to leave these kids and their problems behind. And in the meantime, her friends call her. Her girlfriend calls her, and she's having a little bit of a problem with her kid too. So she says, why don't you come with us? We're going to go on a trip to the ocean. Now, my girlfriend's in charge of the planning, and she books us an Airbnb on Swan's Island. She calls me up, very proud of herself. I got us an Airbnb right on Swan's Island. I say, how is that possible? There's nothing on Swan Island. You can camp on Swan Island, but there are no Airbnb on Swan's Island. Everything is abandoned. I was talking about Swan Island, no S. She booked us in an Airbnb on Swan's Island with an S. What are you going to do? It's already booked. We are going to leave on Labor Day weekend. And we're going to have the long weekend, and we're just going to decompress. So Labor Day weekend rolls around. In between, all our kids, for those 3 women, all our kids are just driving us absolutely bonkers with the nonsense going on in their lives. I got the stalker situation happening. I'm leaving Aroostook County, and I'm going to have a great time. The 3 women decided that we were just going to leave everything, all our problems, on the mainland. We were going to step on the ferry just as wives of our husbands. And we were going to relax, and we were going to decompress, and we were going to heal each other as only women can heal each other. Step onto the ferry, we go over to the island, we get off on Swan's Island. The energy is great. We met a lot of locals on the ferry. We're just a group of people that everybody loves talking to. We have friendly faces, I guess. And go to the island. We go to the Airbnb. And let me tell you, it was quite the interesting, eclectic place. It was the place for us. It was a lovely cottage. It overlooked the water. It had its quirks, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world. The house spoke to us many, many times while we were there. Our first night there, we're having dinner. Now we're getting to know this other couple that was brought on the trip with us. Everybody's getting to know each other. Gorgeous dinner. Have a couple glasses of wine. And during dinner, a cup in the cupboard starts swinging back and forth.
And we're all looking at it. And my girlfriend and I are smiling at each other because we're people of feelings. This other couple that was with us is a very religious couple, so we're not alluding to anything, but they're watching this cup go back and forth. Our husbands are rolling their eyes because this is just their life since they met us. And then the debunking begins. Was it a mouse? Everybody's in the cupboard. They're looking for mouse droppings. They're looking for any signs of what could have done that. We had 240-pound men jumping up and down in front of the cupboard to see if anything would shake, rattle, or roll. And it did not. That was the beginning. That was the welcome. Welcome to the home. Things just got weirder from there. A little while after dinner, the couple that was with us, their sister-in-law called. She was having a moment of her own. Could she come to their house in Aroostook County and spend the weekend? And they're like, well, we're on Swans Island. We're with other people. Let us ask. My girlfriend and I said, of course. We don't know this person, but of course they can come. Because it is another woman that is in need of healing. And if you know anything about women, women heal other women and heal other people, men, children, in only a way a woman can heal. And we knew that by the time the four of us left the island, there would be a healing that was done. It's just the way women are when you get a group of women together. So we're anticipating this fourth woman's arrival in the morning. We're all getting ready for bed. A few more wild instances had happened. Doors creaking. Sounded like footsteps upstairs. This was a 3-bedroom place. A bedroom downstairs, 2 bedrooms upstairs. And my girlfriend gets a text from her child and says, you got to get off the island because there's a man at the house and he means you harm. And we're she shows me the text, we're looking at each other and we're like, oh my gosh, because things are happening. And now her child is saying, you got to come home. You got to get off of this island. You got to get out of this house. And her child started to describe the house to us. Never been there. Her child was back with my child in Aroostook County. So there's no way that this person had been able to see what the interior of this house looked like, yet this person started to describe the interior of the house. A little while later, another text comes in. There is a room made of glass and a woman is dying in the bedroom. Her child could see an event. Now, in this house, there was a room with a wall made of glass doors, a bedroom. And we're starting to get a little frightened here. Her and I were just kind of looking back and forth at each other. Oh my God, what's going on? It was a rough night, needless to say. In the morning, we wake up. The fourth woman shows up at the house. She loves the house. It's an eclectic house. It's an interesting house. She has feelings. She's a very spiritual woman, yet she does respect her brother and sister-in-law's religious beliefs. And things start happening. And she's noticing that things in the house are happening. We decide that we are going to go and explore the island, and we go up to the Burnt Cove Lighthouse, which was not far from where we were staying, and we take a tour of the lighthouse, a tour of the museum. The lighthouse is now a museum. We go into a section of this museum. Now, Swans Island has an artist community on it. We went to the water because I am from the ocean and I needed to get back in touch with my roots. It's a cathartic thing for me. Every once in a while, I have to leave the country. I have to leave rural America, and I absolutely have to go to the ocean to recharge my batteries. It's just a thing I have to do every so often, and if I don't do it, I literally feel like I am suffocating and I am dying in the place that I am in. So we try to go to the water as often as I need to go, which is once every few years we try to get to the ocean. And it is a very cathartic thing for me. I ended up purchasing a painting on silk that a local artist did, and it is the harbor, it is the ocean. And I wanted a memento of my trip, and I also wanted a reminder of the seaside from which I grew up. Not on Swans Island, a different seaside down in Rhode Island, but it's just that feeling. You get it if you get it. We finish out the tour of the lighthouse going up into the lighthouse. And as we're going up into the lighthouse, I turn to my friend and I say, he's here. And she looks at me and I look at her and she's like, oh God. But we proceed to go up and we get up into the very top of the lighthouse. And of course, it's a room made of glass. And that's where things start kicking in. And I start telling my friend bits and pieces of what I'm picking up. And I kept insisting he was there. We go and we proceed to go out and we sit on the cliff. And I'm having a very anxious moment. My husband's sitting on the cliff with me. And I keep looking down and saying, he's here, to my friend. And we kind of absorb the moment. And her and I sit on the cliff together. And we let the feelings come, we let the feelings go, and then we leave. And the rest of the weekend on the island, we went to Fine Sand Island, and I will post a little montage at the end of this video. If you're listening to me on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, or YouTube Music, please think about watching the video on YouTube or on Rumble, Coffee with Kerri-Lynn, both places. And you can see my actual trip to Swans Island, highlights of it anyways. We finish out the weekend on Swans Island with a lot more wild things that happened. My girlfriend and I both heard music. We knew we weren't hearing things because it was old music, and we were finishing the words to the song that we kept here playing over and over and over again. Other people had experiences, whether they passed it off as a ghostly encounter or they just passed it off as something, I don't know. But my girlfriend and I were very attached to this property. And it was a great vacation. So we come off the island and we come home. And the first night home, there was a big crash in my kitchen. It sounded like somebody was shattering glass. It bolted me and my husband right out of bed. A few nights later, I have a little light. It's a tea light. It's a Joyle tea light. You put the tea light in and it casts, it's like a real lamp. And I was reading by that in bed, and the door kept opening and I kept closing it, and the door would open and I would close it, and the door would open and I finally said, enough is enough. And I was drifting off to sleep and something grabbed my leg. Now, I don't take a lot of stock in that, because it could be my muscles, it could be the stress of life eating on me, but I just asked that nothing touch me anymore, and I had a nice peaceful night. I'm chewing on all these wild things that are happening at my house after the trip, and little did I know my girlfriend was having a lot of things happen up the road at her house after the trip. So I decide to give her a call, find out how she's doing. She says, what's going on at your house? Anything happening? And I say, yeah, this is happening. And she says, well, this is happening at my house. And I said, okay, I'm not sure what happened. Maybe we took something from that house and brought it home with us. These things happen. I kept getting the word murder over and over and over since I had left the island and came home. So I was sitting out. It was a beautiful, beautiful day in September. I was sunbathing, and I decided to get on my phone and look up Murder on Swan's Island, and that is when I found the story of Jamie and Stacy Wheaton. Now, our children, all three of us women, our children were having problems with men at the time. And I think they were serious problems. It wasn't anything to fluff over. These were really serious problems. And the story of Stacy and Jamie Wheaton brought to light the revelation that we needed to pay a lot more attention to what was going on in the lives of our daughters. And that is exactly what happened. Now, we'll never really know the motive for the Jamie and Stacy Wheaton tragedy. But it, like I said, the state classified it as domestic violence. For some reason, we were brought to the island at a time when our daughters were in turmoil, and turns out there was a lot of domestic things happening in all of their lives, and the story presented itself, and all us mothers got together and kind of looked at the situation of our children very clearly. Granted, all three children had their situations resolved very peacefully, and I believe that in some way, shape, or form, Stacy Carr Wheaton wanted me to find this article, wanted me to have a connection with the island, in a home not far from where her cabin was. Her cabin has since been demolished, but not far from where her cabin was, where she was tragically, her life was tragically taken. And it was just pointing me as a mom and my girlfriends as moms on the path that maybe what we think is just boy trouble, guy trouble is a little bit more. And we all looked into everything, and things had a good ending for all of our children, which is the only thing a mom can ask for when their children are in serious trouble. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, I believe that when something is so serious enough to harm you or harm someone you love in real life, I believe very firmly that something beyond could be able to come through to you and point you on the path you need to be on to help one of your loved ones. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, I'm not here to convince you of things you don't believe in. I want you to hold true to your own beliefs. But at the same time, I think that energy, spirits, things from beyond the grave can come through and make a big difference in your life if you're willing to follow the signs, if you're willing to pay attention to what they have to say. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, carpe diem, because no one promised you a tomorrow.